And thank you for tuning in to this Friday, October 17, 2014, worldwide transmission of the Truth Radio Show with your host, Dan Badandi, right here on Alternate Current Radio. And Alternate Current Radio is off to a huge start. Right out of the gate, we had thousands of people tuning in. Now we're up to over tens of thousands of people a day. That's great for a network that's only about 4 or 5 months old, and it's just getting bigger and better. We got a wide variety of shows, and those of you listening right now, we do upload a video edition of the show. Of what you're hearing now is uploaded on YouTube, but it's a video edition, and you get to see the articles and documents of what we're talking about. And it's a great thing to have. I mean, the whole video thing itself, because it gives you visualization of what we're talking about, and not just some guy behind a microphone that you never know what he looks like talking. I mean, unfortunately, you get to see me, you get to see my ugly face, but the good side of it is you get to see the documents and the articles up on the screen and everything else and what we're talking about. So without further ado, we're going to jump right into the news because we got a lot to talk about. I mean, you got the FBI director again attacking Apple and Google because of these new iPhones, because he's just afraid because we can't hack into your phones. But there might be other twists to this too, so we're going to get into that. But we're going to start off right away with the news because we got gun grabbers. I mean, despite already we're being attacked by the Ebola. I mean, a lot of people, we're going to get into that later too, how it's spreading throughout America. And a lot of it's not even talked about yet. And not only that, I mean, you got the threat of ISIS and everything else, crime rising and all that. So, right out of the gate, these gun grabbers are coming out again to say, hey, we want your guns. As if gun control works in the first place, which historically it doesn't. Okay, statistically it definitely doesn't. And just thinking on common sense, gun control does not work, period. Yeah, you got Gabby Gifford. She's going all over the country, several states in the country, with Mothers Demand Action, some group, basically a gun-grabbing group, to say, hey, we need to take your guns. And it's funny, all the states she's been in already, she's assembled no more than 20 people to support her, if that. I mean, the numbers are very low because most of America, I don't care what your beliefs out there are, folks, if you love guns or you don't, most of America loves their Second Amendment. That's why we still have guns today. And I'm a living example of that. Okay, me and the thousands, not hundreds, thousands of other Rhode Islanders that fought bravely and courageously here in Rhode Island. 2 years in a row, we squashed the gun bills here in Rhode Island. 2 years in a row, we did this. Especially after Sandy Hook, they tried to utilize that to promote gun control. They worked in Massachusetts, it worked in Connecticut, but it didn't work here because we shot it down then, we shot it down this year, and I'm sure they're going to be doing this again here in Rhode Island. And Rhode Island's one of the states that Gabby Giffords is not coming to because she's definitely not welcome here to promote gun control. And I just want to reach out to Mothers Against Guns or whatever they're called in Gabby Giffords. Okay, you're about women's rights, is that right? About protecting women, which is nothing wrong with that, nothing. So the reason why I'm trying to reach out to you ladies here, because you need to understand one thing. And those of you who know who Gabby Giffords is, she was a congresswoman that was shot in Arizona by, I think it was Gerald Loeffler, whatever the guy's name was, who was that maniac that went into the courthouse shooting, on the shooting rampage in Arizona. So that being said, Gabby Giffords, she's going around the country promoting because she was shot by this maniac. And, as a gun owner, nobody wants to shoot anybody. Honest, law-abiding citizen that we own guns, we never want to use it on another human being. But you got lunatics that come along here and there that love to do that, so we need those guns to protect us. So I'm trying to reach out to these ladies and say, hey, listen, okay, if you want to protect the rights of these women, you want to protect the women in general, why are you calling for gun control? Well, you think 911's going to help them? Like, oh, let's pick up my cell phone. 911, hold on, sir. Don't rape me before you take your clothes off, before you beat me or rob me, whatever you want to do. Wait, hold on. 911, yes, blah, 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 blah. You think that's going to work? Really? I mean, what kind of planet are you living on? What kind of dream world are you in? What kind of drugs you taking? That's what I want to know, to think that this is the way things work, when in reality, no, it doesn't. These criminals out there, they know, especially in those gun-grabbing states, they know they have free reign, unless there's a cop around. They have free reign of the place. So they're going to come attack you. So if you care about women, you really, truly care about women and their rights, why don't you help them? Instead of taking the guns away, why don't you help them get their firearm permits. Even though constitutionally we shouldn't have to have permits to have a firearm or whatever, but we need to circumvent the laws we have now. So why don't you help them, encourage, and then go after the state representatives and attorney generals and all that. Say, hey, listen, don't take the guns away. Why don't you give the woman permits to carry? They did that in Detroit years ago, giving women permits because of the carjacking rate was through the roof, and it dropped dramatically because it put the fear of God into the criminals. Same thing. There's a psychology about this whole thing, these gun grabbers. They cannot comprehend this. I mean, a kid cannot comprehend this. If a criminal knows that the whole neighborhood's armed, what's the chances of him breaking in your house? None. Because he thinks he's going to get shot. And now, the criminal who loves to attack women, he loves to beat up women, rape women, whatever, knowing that woman could possibly be armed because they just passed a new bill or whatever to give all women firearm permits. Now put your head in the mind of the criminals. All right, are you going to actually go rape or mug somebody, knowing that it's a good chance, 90% chance or better, that person has a firearm on them? And especially a woman walking the dock, she has her hand near that weapon just in case something happens. So the Gabby Giffords and the moms demand action. I want you to really circumvent this and understand this, okay? Visualize this, all right? You're in that situation. You think, oh, hold on, sir, let me call 911. Or that guy goes attack you or shoot you, but boom, you take out your gun and you shoot that criminal first. Or you hold it up, if he's going to mug you, say, get out of here, leave me alone. What's the chance of that criminal even attacking you after that? None. So you need to think about this. And again, nobody wants violence. I know, because you're out there because you want to go against violence. You want to stop violence. And that's understandable and that's commemorable. I commend you for that. But the thing is, you can't attack our Second Amendment and think that's going to work. All you're doing, you need to realize this, all you're doing is empowering criminals. You're giving criminals more power. Now, why don't you do your own investigation, okay? Because I know there's a lot of women out there that belong to these groups that are really passionate and motivated about this subject. But, calm your emotions down for a minute and think with your mind, okay? Think, everything I told you, and think that, hey, gun control is not going to work, okay? Instead, let's give the woman permits to carry. That would help women's rights. That would protect women, wouldn't it? I mean, think about it. Just think about it in your head for a minute instead of listening to these gun-grabbing liberals at the top trying to constantly state that guns are bad when they're not. And this country, let me just explain something. Historically and statistically, guns save lives. Okay? Historically and statistically, the Second Amendment is what makes this country a free country. There's no debate in that. I mean, it was about guns, it was about other taxes and all that, but ultimately it was about gun confiscation. The Crown wanted gun confiscation, and they tried to take our guns. And Rhode Island here, for us to say no, we declared our independence against the Britain over guns, over religion, and over taxes and all that, because we didn't want to be forced to be Catholics at the time. We didn't want to be forced to be paying taxes to the king. We didn't want to be firearms taken away. And that's what also started the King Philip War, was gun confiscation as well. So when you look historically and statistically, guns save lives. Historically, statistically, guns protect your civil liberties and protect yourself and your family. So why are you trying to attack the Second Amendment? So if you get rid of the guns, there's more, statistically, more people are killed by stab wounds and drunk drivers and cigarette smoke than guns ever will think of. So why don't you try to go out and ban them too? Which is impossible. You can't do it. So it's not the item, okay? It's the person, okay? It's not the car, okay? It's not the knife. It's not the gun or the cigarette. It's the person willingly taking those items and using it for death purposes. So, you know what I mean? Like, there's the psychology right there broken down. So I debate people all the time, and, these gun grabbers, they have no logic to stand on, no facts to stand on, nothing. And the numbers they bring there end up being dramatically changed and altered, and nothing compared to reality. I mean, when you look at all the stats, even the FBI has no choice to admit that states with little to no gun control have far less crime and murder rates than the states that do have major gun control. Like Illinois, they pride themselves on gun control, but you have one of the highest crime and murder rates in the country. But I mean, like, and it doesn't stop. I mean, these people just want your guns, and especially now in this crisis, they want to try to take your guns when you can't defend yourself, and that's just ridiculous. And well, you're not getting our guns here. Now you got not only Bloomberg, but now global scum like Bill Gates. Washington State, Bill Gates is coming for your guns, says Tim Brown of the D.C. Clothesline. Everyone knows that former Mayor Michael Bloomberg supports to push towards confiscation of America's guns. He's literally thrown millions of dollars behind various campaigns, started organizations, even gotten politicians on board with going after guns. Some of the politicians are here in Rhode Island too, and they're going after guns across America. Now, Microsoft found that Bill Gates and his wife Melinda have given over $1 million to start the ball rolling on gun confiscation in Washington State, and it's got to go through all the rest of the country. They got to go all out on the guns. CNN reports previously Microsoft co-founder Paul Allen gave $500,000. CEO Steve Ballmer gave $250 when his wife Connie contributed $330. But the thing is, you're seeing all these multimillionaires contributing a lot of money for the guns. And here's the whole hypocritical thing about all this. Bill Gates is a gun owner. He has armed security. Michael Bloomberg's a gun owner, and he definitely has armed security. He probably has more armed security than half the police departments in the city is across the country. But all these people rely on guns to protect them, but yet they're calling for gun confiscation. Isn't that not an oxymoron? Why don't you lead by example? Tell your guards there, get rid of their guns, and you get rid of your guns too, Bloomberg. Why don't you lead by example? But no, they know. The thing is, these people know. They're not out here for your rights or protection or whatever. They know gun control doesn't work. These people are openly globalists. They love the idea of a new world order, openly stating all the time. They come right out. We support a global government. Openly stated all the time, but they want you to give up your rights to say, hey, let the government protect you. When a national 911 response time is 11 to 14 minutes, by then the criminal's got what he wants and he's out of there. I mean, and the thing is, like, you're putting more burdensome on the police officers. And then they're going to go after the police officers later to say, hey, you can't have firearms with more than 10 rounds. I talk to police all the time, and they're definitely not for this. I mean, you have a couple of corrupt few, whatever, but the majority of the police departments are not for gun control. Trust me. A lot of them are NRA members, and the thing is, people hear the NRA, they think automatically the extreme right. Okay, it's nothing to do with right or left. Get over it. Get over your stupid political crap, okay? It's nothing to do with the right wing and the left wing, okay? And in fact, right now, the Republicans are calling because they're supporting the guns, but, the higher levels of the Republicans are for gun control, too. They're just jumping on this bandwagon now because they know the majority of Americans don't support gun control. But, Obamas, the Bushes, the Clintons, all these people, the right, the left, whatever you want to call them, they all on the same boat here. But they're all always calling for gun control quietly or publicly, like the Democrats are calling for it publicly now. But they put a globalist puppet in the White House of a Republican. He's going to eventually call for gun restrictions and slowly but surely take away your gun rights too. So it's not an issue of right versus left, okay? It's not an issue of these two parties. It's an issue of you, an American. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat. If you love the Constitution of our country, you should support the Second Amendment. Plain and simple, because without the second, you don't have the rest. But you have these globalists funding this gun grab. And despite of all this, I mean, like, you got all these top well-known people calling for gun control. Fight Club star endorses guns. So with so many celebrities bashing guns, a major Hollywood star has stepped forward to speak about his earliest experience with firearms and endorsing the Second Amendment. And InfoWars reports that. And here's more hypocritical news here. John McCain, loves to call for gun control too. He supports the president's view on gun control, believe it or not. Well, these people that call for gun control, they give guns to the enemies. Al-Qaeda, ISIS, they just passed a bill to fund the Syrian rebels arm them, which they're part of the same faction as ISIS and Al-Qaeda. But John McCain caught lying about Benghazi arms deal. And InfoWars reports this. Caught on tape by David of the NolanReport.com, John McCain lies about arming of Syrian rebels with heat-seeking missiles from the CIA base in Benghazi. And says we can trust that Syria's rebels will not give weapons to ISIS. Yeah, right. You could trust that they're not going to give weapons to ISIS. And despite these claims, countless intelligence insiders, include Lieutenant Colonel Anthony Schaefer and Wayne Madison, reveal the federal government's connection to the Benghazi attack, as well as the transfer of U.S. weapons from rebels to ISIS jihadists. So, I mean, on record, they gave weapons to Al-Qaeda. On record. That's not debatable. That's on record. The CIA even admits that. But now they're the bad guys. Now they're turning around and say, oh, ISIS is actually helping us defeat, Al-Qaeda is actually helping us defeat ISIS. But they gave, last year, John McCain takes a picture with the guys arming ISIS. Now they're the bad guys. And now they say, oh, we need to arm the Syrian rebels, which the Syrian rebels are the same damn faction. They're a different faction, they're the same group. They're part of ISIS, a part of Al-Qaeda. It's all the same thing with different names. So they're calling for gun confiscation here. You, the American law-abiding citizen, you can't have a gun. But we could give guns to these criminals that want to kill you. They're coming in here in America, they're trying to come to kill you. And what do you think right now? We use gun grabbers right now. The reason why ISIS is getting with that, just rampaging through the Middle East is because the citizens are unarmed. Now, if gun control came along and all the citizens were stripped of their firearms, do you not think ISIS would be flooding this country? Think about that. The only thing stopping them from majorly flooding this country right now is the point that the American, over 200 million citizens potentially have guns here in America. So, and the thing is, most Americans, I don't care what you think, most Americans support the Second Amendment. That's why gun bills only pass because it's legislators, not the people. When the people get to vote on it, it's definitely a no, by far. There's more gun supporters than gun control advocates, way more. And we got to go to a break, but when we come back, we got to talk more about this stuff and the big Ebola threat. But anyway, we'll be right back on Truth Radio right here on AlternateCurrentRadio.com. And we're back on Truth Radio Show right here on Alternate Current Radio. And again, these people want our guns. And when you take the guns away, there's tyranny. Plain and simple. And we're not going to get too much more to that because we still got a lot of news to cover. You got a London mayor warns of terror threat, reported by Gregory Katz of Associated Press. The ANP reports British counterterrorism forces are monitoring thousands of potential extremists in the capital's metropolitan area. London's Mayor Boris Johnson said in a newspaper interview published Saturday, as police continued to question 5 men arrested on suspicion of terrorism offenses. And his comments came as police chiefs warned police officers throughout Britain to use extra care because of the increased threat of their potential safety, personal safety. And again, it's hyping up terror threats, and it's probably not even a big threat. Really ain't. It's just like the way to keep people scared, to keep you, keep your mouth shut, to keep you scared and everything else. So you willingly give up what's left of your civil liberties in Britain. There's probably none of them left. You could barely say anything without getting arrested if you. It's horrible. And people in Britain, you need to take your country back. You need to, all the UK, you need to take your countries back. Because, living under tyranny. Living under the crown is living under the tyranny. And these people, and how funny how the United States, our government or the media praises the Queen and all them, these royal scum, praises them as if they're good people or as if they're honorable people when they're not. They're a bunch of inbred, ancestral lunatics that want world domination. And that's not even exaggerating. They openly state it. They marry with their own family to keep the bloodline pure. And we don't have time to get into the bloodline stuff, but you need to research about the Illuminati bloodlines. You'll be surprised what you find out. Anyway, you got attack on Christianity. Speaking of Illuminati, attack on Christianity big time. And within the church, and also being attacked from other sources as well. But anyway, the TV pastor accused of forcing church members to get abortions and vasectomies. And Bob Dyer from Akron Beacon Journal reports, depending whom you ask, one of two things is happening in the big city of Conestoga Falls Church, run by legendary television evangelist Ernest Angley. And the devil himself has infiltrated the church, and Angley, who is a prophet of God, false prophet, has been working tirelessly to fight him off. Yeah, right, he's actually working with him. He's in bed with him. And Angley's church is a dangerous cult where pregnant women are encouraged to have abortions, childless men who have no kids, are encouraged to have vasectomies, and when Angley, who preaches all the time against homosexuality, he himself is a gay man who personally examines the genitals of the male parishioners before and after their surgeries. They also say he turns a blind eye to sexual abuse by other members of the church. And during the past few months, a tear has ripped through the 3,000-seat auditorium known as Grace Cathedral. One longtime associate pastor resigned, telling friends and family he had to leave there. He felt bad. He had to leave because he was been inappropriately touched by Angley for several years. So you've seen these false prophets in the church putting a bad name on God when it's not God at all. These people don't represent God. I mean, you have the 700 Club, Billy Graham, Pat Robertson, Joel Osteen, Kenneth Copeland, the Pope. Okay, even the last Pope, all the last popes actually. All these people are all false prophets. Every single one of them. They're not men of God at all. And we don't know, speaking of the Pope, because we got to just move along here, we're going to dive into that some other time, the whole false religions that's going on, that's not of God, but we're speaking of false prophets and the Pope. Vatican, homosexuals have gifts and qualities to offer the Christian community. And what they're saying, this is from DCClothesline.com reporting, homosexuality has become and been the political battering ram of the opposition to God's law and freedom in the past 25 years in America. More recent, the sodomites' attempt at redefining marriage has been used as a weapon of choice. Now, the liberal-leaning Pope Francis and his Roman hierarchy have stepped in again, and this time with homosexuality. The Pope's recent synod led to a document which bishops said they should focus on positive aspects that sodomites have in the church. And the Pope has attacked capitalism, embraced Islam, and many have suggested he has laid groundwork for a one-world religion, which he has. That's on record. The UN's even adopted his one-world religion idea, and they're trying to push for it now. While they did not endorse homosexual sex in redefining marriage openly, the bishops did indicate that sodomites have positive aspects to offer Christians. Now, the thing is, first of all, the Catholic Church is not Christian. I'm boldly going to state that now. And because nothing to do with Christianity, because they're actually a paganistic church. And I don't mean any offense to people who are Catholics. But we're going to get into that sometime. Just watch my videos I have on YouTube to explain exactly what I mean by that. And again, no offense to you people, the regular people who go to the churches. Your churches are run by evil people. The Vatican, all those people in there are evil people. They're evil to the core. But anyway, they don't practice what they preach, plain and simple. That's what the article's trying to say. And we could talk about homosexuality all the time. Yes, it is a sin. It's an abomination, but who am I to throw stones in a glass house? I mean, I'm a Christian, Judeo-Christian. I'm not a religion. I believe in Yeshua, Messiah, Jesus Christ, and the Bible and God. But the thing is, me lust upon a girl walking down the street with her butt hanging out, okay, that's a sin too. So who am I to cast stones against somebody that's gay? And again, I have friends who are gay, and I don't badger them. I don't. I love them just as much as everybody else. But you know what? I tell them once when I first met them, that was it. I say, listen, this is what the Bible says. I'm not saying that the Bible says that. That's it. I walk away, wash my hands from it. I don't badger them. That's what a real Christian's supposed to do. But anyway, and the thing is, marriage, like, who invented marriage? God invented marriage. Therefore, he makes the rules. Who the hell is man to say, we want men and men to get married, or men and dogs to get married? Because that's coming too. Some countries do that. They let the guys marry the dogs and everything else, and it's ridiculous. But God says one man, one woman. That's it. Plain and simple. And who the hell is man to say different? Now, we could, again, argue all day long if you want to be gay or whatever. That's your personal thing with God, not mine, okay? But the point is, marriage was invented by God, therefore, God makes the rules, not you. Get over it. And I don't care if it offends you. I mean, that's the facts. I mean, the facts offend everybody, so you know what? Get over it. You got Christian persecution in U.S. Openly gay Houston mayor demands pastors to turn over sermons. Now, this is AlanBWest.com reporting this. Basically, he's saying that, my friends, the persecution of Christian pastors has begun in this country. We previously warned and about the efforts of the Freedom of Religion Foundation and its secretive settlement with the IRS, allowing them to demand sermons to scrutinize for political activity. Well, indeed, it has happened. And yes, they're trying to demand the sermons because basically, to tell the pastors, hey, you need to tell us what you got to be saying to the congregation. That's what a sermon is, what they got to preach out to the congregation. And they want that, what you got to say first. This way they can approve it. And a lot of churches, they belong to a thing called 501c3. It's a tax exemption for nonprofits. But with the church values of it is, the government says, hey, listen, we'll give you tax exemption, no problem, to keep all your donations, all that. We'll even give you funding for new equipment or whatever you need. We'll give you grants and all that, but you need a couple quick quotes that you gotta kind of not talk about, okay? You can't bash the president. You can't tell the people in your congregation to defy the orders from government. In other words, when forced inoculations come along or anything like that, you can't say to resist it. You got to say, hey, it's of God, do it. And all these churches fall suit into this because it's about the money to them, not about God. That's why I don't like any religion. And my religion is a personal one-on-one relationship with God only and Jesus. It's the only religion you should be following. And the people are the church. The church is not a building. It's not a religion. It's not an establishment. It's the people who follow Yeshua as Jesus Christ. But anyway, it's, again, they just want to attack God out of this country, period. And the Illuminati have been doing that since day one in this country, and they've been failing miserably. And in recent years, in the last 50-plus years, they've been getting a little more steam because the march toward a new world order is coming. And they need to get God out of the country, and they need to take your guns, too, to push this global government. And you got school board votes to cover biblical verses on high school monument. And CBS Atlanta is reporting this. A controversial high school monument that features a biblical scripture on it will have to be modified to comply with the state and federal laws. First of all, it's not a federal law. I don't know where the hell they get that in the first place. Madison High School football players had adopted a practice of touching the monument that was donated when they headed out on the football field. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reported the monument features 2 Bible verses, including Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me, in Romans 8:31, if God's with us, who could be against us? And that will now change since the Madison County School Board voted Tuesday night in favor of having the scriptures either removed or covered at the monument that is in front of the football field. And see what they did here, CBS News. All right, they say right out to be modified to comply with the state and federal laws. First of all, the state and the federal government didn't make no law about that. See how they lie about stuff? And this way nobody challenges it. That's why. And they say, well, it was the Madison County School Board that voted this in, not the state or the government. See, these are the lies by mainstream media. They'll report what's going on, but they'll twist things. And CBS, just so people know, the federal government, it's going to be hard to fight them because they got unlimited resources. The federal government or the state didn't say that. It was the school board that voted that. See the lies and twisting by the CBS News, Fox, CNN, how they do that? That's why mainstream media needs to be abolished. Alternative media, we here tell the truth, and we point things out like that the normal person won't catch. Because what it is subliminal. What it is, when you read the article, they said biblical scripture will have to be modified to comply with state and federal laws, and they keep reading it on. In their head, it's a state and federal law. But later on, it was voted on. You can read how it was voted by the Madison County School Board. But people won't challenge it. But it takes people like us to point that out. It was the school board who made that. And it's a policy, not a law. And a policy is not even a law. You could fight that. So how they're turning that little policy that the school made to saying it's a state and federal law. In actuality, the federal law, which is supposed to be the Constitution, the First Amendment, protects that from being there. I'm sorry. They have a right to have that there. So where are they getting off to say it's a state and federal law? So CBS is just a bunch of brainwashing mainstream media morons that like to go out and say, oh, you throw that in there quick. So it sinks into your head that's a federal state law when it's not. That's the cunningness of the mainstream media, and like the Bible says about Satan is so cunning. Okay, that exactly he uses the mainstream media as his mouthpiece. And yeah, I don't mean to sound like a church sermon over here, but I mean it's the truth. It really is. Mainstream media is the mouthpiece of Satan himself, to make everything bad sound good, and they turn everything good to bad. You know, what I mean, it's just that's the mindset what they want you to believe. And we got a few minutes left into the segment. We'll come back with, from the last segment. We're going to talk about the Ebola. I mean, Obama, he's ready his unconstitutional executive order to send National Guards to Liberia. And that's huge, folks. It really is. And what the hell, how the hell, I should say, does sending military, I mean, I'm baffled by this. That's why I can't speak right. I'm baffled. How the hell does sending armed military to Liberia to help combat the virus? How does that combat the virus, sending armed people? How does guns and weapons combat a virus? I'll tell you why, because they want to mow everybody down, kill them all. That's exactly what they want. And they said this, and we'll get into the story later, but we do got to jump into some of this technocracy news, because we talked about the cell phones, Apple's iPhones that have a special decryption code that the feds can't get into it, and we're going to bring those articles back up because we brought them up last week. About this iPhone, and I got FBI director. If Apple and Google won't decrypt phones, we'll force them to, says Motherboard, referring to Mr. Commie, the communist, FBI director James Communist, I call him Mr. James Commie. But articles we talked about last week, how the FBI criticized tech giants like Apple and Google for encrypting phones, and Chicago police chief saying that iPhones are the phone choice of pedophiles. Which leads to this, how the FBI, because they're pissed off or whatever, and I think it's part of a propaganda scheme, if you ask me, but he's acting like he's pissed off. Everyone's stoked about the latest version of the iPhone, but with decrypting data, and people, basically what they're saying in the article here, if you read through the article, it's on Infowars.com, people are stoked because, hey, it's protecting us from intrusion from the government. But here's the thing about this whole thing here. I mean, it's really bothering me. Yeah, sure, it's a great thing. Apple's doing a great thing by making us a new iPhone, to keep the government out of our business. And everybody should do this. I endorse that. But here's the other thing that's bothering me here. Okay, the point is, I think this is a propaganda stunt, to tell you the truth, because if you think about it, even before about a year or two before Edward Snowden came up about the NSA, who was the first people to admit that the government was using their systems to spy on you? Apple and Google. They were the first two companies to admit that they were being used as a tool, basically, to spy on you, the American people. So, they lost a lot of sales, big sales. Now they turn it all around because they had the Edward Snowden thing, all this stuff going on. People forgot about that. If you go back to research it all, you can find that Apple and Google were the first ones to say, hey, yeah, even before Facebook and all them, yeah, the government was using us to spy on you. Admitted it. So now they're coming out this propaganda. Well, we got phones with a decryption service that the feds can't get into, and the FBI director is playing along with this. Oh, you bad guys, smacking money in on national TV to say, we're going to come after you and we'll force you to do it. And I guarantee now they're probably using that. So you buy the iPhone, and the iPhone probably has a special program built into it somehow that they could automatically direct channel to the feds that they're hearing, seeing, and everything you're doing on your phone. I mean, it's that crazy. I mean, that's a good possibility right there. Or the other token, Apple and Google, which is very unlikely, said, hey, you know what? Let's go along with the flow. Let's go, people are sick of this crap. Let's just satisfy our customers. Which, in that case, is very, very unlikely. And be very assured that this is a giant campaign stunt to promote more government intrusion on your rights. Anyway, we're going to go to a break. We'll be right back. We're going to come back with the Ebola virus. And you listen to Truth Radio on alternatecurrentradio.com. And welcome back to our final segment on Alternate Current Radio. This is Truth Radio with Dan Badandi, and the Apple iPhone thing. I really think, I know it sounds crazy, it really does, but again, Google and Apple were the first to come out to admit they were being used as a tool by the federal government to spy on you. So now they're coming to say, hey, we're protecting your rights. Highly unlikely that will happen because they get major money and all that stuff from these corporate giants and everything else. So they're not going to want to not spy on you. Because, I mean, look at your iPhone apps. I mean, my tablet apps, I was downloading some flight simulator game and a couple other games like that. But right there it says I took screenshots of it. I'm going to try to get them up on the screen here. I'll get them up on the screen during the presentation for the video edition over the weekend. Basically, there's one game you play that they want access to your phone, your media files, your videos, your pictures. They want access to your internet connection and information about it. And a microphone too. They want access to your microphone and your video camera. So and then with the descriptions, when you click on the descriptions, it says it can access them anytime they see fit. So what the hell is that got to do? Anybody that's in the technological that doesn't believe in this conspiracy stuff, whatever. But if you're in that technological state here, what the hell, does that stuff have to do with playing the game? Monitoring with your GPS and everything else and access to GPS and all that good stuff. What does all that have to do with playing the game? When I could just shut my Wi-Fi off and play the game, that's what I do. I have this little flight simulator. I shut the Wi-Fi off on my tablet to play the game. And the game works perfectly fine. So what the hell is them gaining access to all my stuff have to do with anything? You know what I mean? And it's not a conspiracy. And they openly call and brag about that. You know what I mean? And before we get into the eugenics stuff with the Ebola, that's exactly what it is. It's the eugenics because the United States government owns the patent copyright on the Ebola virus. The Obama virus, I should call it. And they're using that to push martial law and force inoculations, as I stated before. A couple of news articles on ISIS. Own goal in Baghdad, ISIS to shut down airport using U.S. weapons. As we talk about our government funded and arming ISIS. And Daniel McAdams reports that. And is Baghdad about to fall to ISIS, a group which the U.S. media has told us is more evil than evil itself, except, of course, the Kardashian group, which is far more terrifying. Skipping along here, you got ISIS could turn Ebola into bioweapon, security experts warn. Sandy Fitzgerald from Newsmax reports. The Islamic State's ISIS may be thinking of using human carriers to infect the enemies with the Ebola virus, a national security expert claims, saying terror groups would not have to weaponize the deadly virus to spread the disease. And they're talking about here in the United States is, they could use people infected and going to major colleges and everywhere else, malls and all that to push the Ebola, to spread it around. But now you got Obama, his idea of stopping the Ebola, and CDC too, they're saying, if we shut down air travel, it's going to make it worse. When, you shut down air travel from other countries, it's going to contain whatever we have here in America is going to contain it, and we could just stop it. But let's keep bringing people in from other countries, and they say, it's going to make it worse if we stop it. I don't know how they think that, but that's the stupid mentality of these people. Speaking of stupid, Obama readies unconstitutional executive order to send National Guard to Liberia. Kurt Nimmo from InfoWars reports that it is widely expected Obama will issue an unconstitutional executive order and send U.S. National Guard troops to Liberia to, quote-unquote, to help contain the Ebola outbreak there, according to NBC News. So, there they go. So, that's another thing. We talked about the CBS thing, about how they slipped. It's a state and federal law when it's just the school board voted on it. How they slipped that in there when it's not. And the mainstream media, they did this every time they talked about this, sending troops to Liberia and Africa and all that, to say, hey, we're sending armed troops, but, they quickly say that, but they're going to go combat the Ebola virus. But how the hell these guns, because I'll tell you what they're doing. They're using that crisis because they genetically engineered it. They're the ones who put it there in Africa. It wasn't off some monkey pee or some two guys having sex with the ape or whatever. There was nothing like that, okay? The Ebola virus was genetically made, genetically engineered out of a lab by our own government. Okay, probably from Operation Paperclip. These Nazi scientists, the scientists, they bring it over to work here in America. They engineered these diseases. I mean, all these diseases, they're biological weapons, they engineer them. And they've been going forever to go to Africa. That's their goal, is to go to Africa. Because of all the minerals and natural resources. So they want to depopulate Africa. That's why Bill Gates Him and his wife fund vaccines for these third world people. They say it helps them when it actually kills them. It kills them sometimes right on the spot. And that's not even exaggerating. That's really true. So they want to send troops to Liberia, because what they're going to do is they're going to get their foot in the door in Africa by going to Liberia to say, hey, you know what, we're here to help the humanitarian crisis. We're here to help, do our humanitarian aid. But in the meantime, we're military occupying your land. And the article says, Obama's repeated use of executive orders to bypass Congress and the American people has created a constitutional crisis here in America. The number of orders signed is truly staggering. They revisit will be assigned to build 17 Ebola treatment centers with 100 beds apiece. Now that would, that would be good. To send hospitals there, to say, hey, send troops there with hospitals and all that, to say, hey, we're here to help you. Yeah, send some armed guards cases, people that wants to come attack you or whatever. But you don't send a military force there for a virus. And the Pentagon is urging Obama to sign the order to speed up its deployments and send troops as required by the Department of Defense. And pressing the National Guard into service to fight Ebola is yet another example of the further militarization of so-called humanitarian aid. And humanitarian aid, however, may be used as a cover for this geostrategic imperative, as Aaron Klein of the WorldNet Daily had noted earlier this week. So they're using this geostrategic imperative to utilize that to say, hey, this is why this was our chance to get in there to go take over yet another country. And once they get into Liberia, take over that, they're going to be a military occupation, and they're going to spread like wildfire through Africa, taking over Africa, because they got all over the Middle East, and Iran's the end game for the Middle East operation. And after that, because it's world domination, really is. It's I'm calling it, call it how it is. It's world domination. They're going to use biological warfare, which they're doing now with the Ebola. And they're going to put it over here, too, because they want to kill off the population. That's part of the globalist agenda. Bill Gates openly stated it several times. They want to kill the population off, and to do that, they're going to use vaccines and everything else. And I'm telling people right now, I'm going to tell them again, I sound like a broken record. Every week we talk about this. I'm telling people right now, they're coming up with vaccines, yes, but do not take the vaccine. The vaccine is going to cause more deaths, more sickness and illness than the people who have the Ebola itself. Now, but they don't tell you that herbs and shiitake mushrooms and all these good herbs and foods and all that cure the Ebola. And people say, if they cure the Ebola, then why aren't they using it? Because they don't have the knowledge to use that. They're told that vaccines work. That's why people take the vaccines and die. High doses of vitamin C work. When people if you have vitamin C fed into you intravenously, that'll work. But high doses of vitamin C with the pills and whatnot, that will work. That'll keep the Ebola away. And if you get it, it'll go away like a cold. The vaccines are not going to work. The vaccines are just going to kill you. A poll, half of Americans believe government is hiding the truth. And Paul Joseph Watson reports this. In a newly released Fox News poll, that's right, Fox News, they had no choice to say this, but has found that half Americans believe that the U.S. government is hiding information about the Ebola outbreak, while clearly a majority think that the world is going to hell in a handbasket, which it is. And it truly is. This world is going to hell in a handbasket. I definitely agree on that. And although 55% believe that the government is prepared to deal with the crisis, Americans are split 46 to 46 on the question of whether the White House is telling the public the truth about the Ebola virus, which we know they're not. From their own articles and their own sources, we can show they're not telling the truth because they contradict themselves. They lie about stuff. One day they'll say this, the next day they'll say that, and thinking people are going to forget what they said in the first place. And how the CDC plays the numbers, they downplay it for a while. Then when it's ready for their propaganda, with their agendas, they hype it up worse than it actually is. And speaking of airports and all that, earlier, they want to the TSA and everything else, if that's not bad enough, the CDC is considering deploying Ebola screeners at all major airports in the United States. Paul Joseph Watson reports, in a move that would consider long overdue, the CDC has indicated its willingness to deploy registered nurses and physicians at all major airports in the United States to screen travelers for signs of Ebola. Well, it sounds good, yeah. I mean, if somebody's coming off a plane sick, yeah, sure, bring the guy aside, whatever. But they're gonna, again, you got to use something good like that to hype it up, to hype more Homeland Security, to hype more TSA to stick their hands down your pants even more. And I'm sure these doctors are gonna be accompanied by armed agents or something, and they're gonna be very aggressive toward you. And the thing is, they wouldn't have to worry about none of this stuff if they would have right away from the day one of the old Ebola outbreak in Africa. From day one, they should have restricted foreign travel here in America. That would stop it right there. That would seize a lot of that right there. But no, the CDC says, no, restricting the air travel from other countries will make it worse. How do you think that? You're an oxymoron. That's why the CDC, you're an oxymoron to even think that. I mean, you should have shut those incoming flights from other countries down right at the beginning. But instead, you want to stick your doctors in the airports to hype up security, get everybody all paranoid, so you could win. Because when what's going to happen is everybody's going to be so paranoid. You're going to come out, we got a vaccine. But what you got to do is you got to use reverse psychology to say, hey, there are only a limited amount of vaccines. You first come, first serve. So of course, everybody's going to go flying down to the Walmart, to the Walgreens, to the CVS's, to the Rite Aids, to say, hey, I want my vaccine, me and my family. When in actuality, they probably have a vaccine for 3 for each person, every person on the planet. But they'll tell you, it's a limited amount, first come, first serve. It's reverse propaganda to scare you, along with you being scared already, to hype it up, to get you to get down there and get that vaccine. But now, and the CDC is going to make it worse by deploying Ebola screeners at all the airports to make it, just hype up the fear even more. And they call us fear mongers. They call us, we make money off of people's fear. We don't make, my show here, I got to tell you the stuff that's going on. I got to tell you the bad stuff. I don't sugarcoat nothing. But I encourage people out there what they could do about it. And how they could go out, that's not fear-mongering. Fear-mongering is me telling you, hey, everybody, stay in your homes, don't do nothing. That's what fear-mongering is. That's what the mainstream media does. Okay, what we do here is we tell you the unsugar-coated, the hardcore truth. It's frightening, yes it is, but we give you a light at the end of that. To say this is what you can do about it. To fight the Ebola, we're not saying to take the vaccines and stay in your homes and watch out for everybody as a suspect. We're telling you, you could fight it by high doses of vitamin C. It was an article on Infowars.com. I forgot the article. I'll try to bring that up on the screen on the video edition. How to fight the Ebola. High doses of vitamin C was one of them. And it makes a lot of sense. Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, he himself throws cash at Ebola. Infowars reports Mark Zuckerberg and his wife Priscilla Chan have embraced a democratic maxim, never let a good crisis go to waste. And wow, that phrase is coming up all the time lately. That's why Robert Emanuel, never let a good crisis go to waste. And we skipped our quote of the week. I just wanted to bring, after this article, I'll bring that up. Mark made a big splash today when he announced Facebook will give the Centers for Disease Control Foundation $20 million. Zuckerberg quotes, the Ebola epidemic is a critical turning point and has affected 8,400 people so far, but it is spreading very quickly, and projections suggest it could infect 1 million people or more over the next several months if not addressed. So that's his excuse for giving $1 million, $25 million, that's a lot of money, to what? I have no idea. To the CDC, that's not going to do something about it, and it's a government organization. They're already getting money off the taxpayers. Why are you giving $25 million so you can help them promote more fear to get people to get their vaccines? This is our quote of the week here. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech. And that's by Benjamin Franklin. But yeah, in this case, because what they're doing is subduing the freeness of speech, as you're seeing right here, lying about things to say, it's a law, or it's a federal law, or it's this or that, or you have to get your vaccines. They use that, the mainstream media, as that guise to rob your civil liberties. They put more fear into the people. That puts more homeland security in the streets, more forced inoculations, and you got border doctors fear Ebola may have mutated. We got about a minute left in the show. Don Salazar from Infowars.com reports a doctor working in South Texas is raising concerns that the Ebola strain recently contracted by Dallas nurse may have undergone a mutation. And we read articles before how demonstrating back in the late 1980s how the Ebola virus did become airborne. And you got breaking news: healthcare workers has Ebola. Second healthcare worker has Ebola. This is from Infowars. The 26-year-old healthcare worker Amber Joy Vincent contracted the Ebola virus while working on the country's first Ebola patient, Thomas Eric Duncan. So she contracted the disease herself, and this is going to start spreading, folks. It's going to get a lot worse than this, okay? And I'm not promoting fear. I mean, you should be aware of this, and it's not a joke, but be aware also. You need to stock up on your vitamins, stock up on eating good, stock up on the good foods. Eat good, keep a healthy immune system, exercise as much as you can. I know people are busy, but exercise as much as you can. And high doses of vitamin C, and B vitamins, all that will keep that whole virus away from you. It'll keep your system healthy and would fight off that virus if it did, God forbid, it did get to you or your family. So that's got to save the day, not vaccines. And I'm telling you again, do not, I stress with all my heart and soul, do not take the vaccines, folks. Please don't. And we did a full report. We got the report right up on YouTube. The Ebola virus to push martial law here in America and force inoculations. And that's right up on our YouTube channel on Truth Radio Show. And we're about out of time and wish we had more time because we've got a lot of stuff to cover. But anyway, we will be back next week, God willing. And thank you for listening, and those of you over the weekend watching the Truth Radio Show right here on Alternate Current Radio. This is Dan Badandi. Have a good week, and God bless.